Welcome to PVPN. I am your local realtor and host, Joe Alessi, and normally we want drama out of our lives, but today we're going to bring it straight to you. We have the drama teachers from PV and Penn High School today, and we are going to delve into their programs. So thank you for tuning in, and please subscribe to the channel. All right, it's March 27th, and we are between productions at Penn High and PV High with that we'll dig into in a little bit. We had Mean Girls that you finished up a couple of weeks ago, and then Something Rotten is coming in a couple of weeks. So you have those things on the docket. We'll get into that in a little bit. I feel a little bit out of my element today because normally we talk about sports, but clearly this is something that I don't know a lot about, this world, so it's going to be a lot of fun for me to dig into it with you guys. My homework entailed looking up some stuff, and I saw the word thespian, and I don't even know what that was, so I'm like, what? So, and I come to find that that's just a word for an actor, and apparently in ancient Greece, Thespis was the first person on stage, so that's where we get thespian from, so I do know that. So, but we have Seth Cohen from Penn High, Nicole Thompson from PV High, and we have collectively about 30 years of experience, you guys, at those particular schools, and probably even more years in drama teaching in general, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's start by an introduction at first. So Nicole, if you could just kind of introduce yourself. I know you're a South Bay girl as well. And just tell us, how you got into this world and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am South Bay, born and raised in Hermosa Beach, and went to Redondo High School. And then dabbled in theater then, took it my freshman year and fell in love with it. And decided to become a drama teacher. So college at UCLA, Santa Barbara, and then NYU for a little bit, but down to San Diego for grad school, and got my credential. And then when my husband and I were ready to have kids, we knew we had to move back to the South Bay. This is where we wanted to raise them. There's no place better.
Right.
And so we came back, and drama teachers at high schools, there's one at each, and they don't leave very often. So I subbed for a while at all the schools. I directed a few shows at Maricosta and just kind of hopped around, and then landed at PV High, and an opening came up, and I've been there ever since, and it's super, super exciting.
Wonderful. Excellent. Seth?
Yeah, I started doing community theater when I was about 8 or 9 years old. Followed my sister into the community theater area, and then really enjoyed it. Went to Peninsula High, was a part of the drama department there for all 4 years. Worked more backstage than on stage as a teenager. Got a film degree from Chapman University. Was working as the technical director at Peninsula throughout my college years. Didn't necessarily have a clear plan in mind. And then decided, okay, I guess I'll get my teaching credential. That's an option, and even teaching theater didn't even occur to me at that point. It was very just fortuitous timing that around the time I finished my credential, the previous teacher was getting ready to retire, and so it was sort of the timing just sort of aligned, and it's been great. I've spent my entire career at Peninsula, at my alma mater, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, because you did go to Penn High.
Went to Penn High, started working there at 19, and have been there ever since.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So with sports, again, a little easier for me, but there tend to be, kids will gravitate to the schools if one sport might be seen as being maybe a little bit better for them fit-wise. Is there a philosophy that each of you have, and do you feel like there's a different philosophy between the schools? Like, does one gravitate to one school over another for any particular reason? So talk about your philosophy as far as the department, because I know that you even mentioned that when you talked about the actual productions, that it's a business. even at this level. So
Yeah, I mean, I think for us as producers, we are running small theater companies, and so because our productions, unlike a lot of places, and I think Nicole can speak to how her program runs, but our productions are separate from our classes. So in the drama classes, you can take drama class for all 4 years. You've got progression learning, theater history, performance style, working on acting skills, some tech theater background and design. And then when we get into our productions, fully extracurricular. And so I do try to specialize the students as much as I can. When I've got enough stage crew kids, they're each working in the one department, and hopefully they find something they really enjoy there. As far as a director, I do push the students to be fairly independent. I feel like I cast them, they bring their skill into the audition. I cast them where I think is going to best serve the production and best set them up to succeed. But I try to get them to do a fair amount of that work about what they're going to do while they are on stage. And I try to train the stage crew department similarly where, if we're doing our jobs right, I really feel like we are a set of keys come opening night, and there's nothing left for us at that point. Yeah.
Okay. And your philosophy?
Lots of similarities. A lot of it comes down to what's our role as the drama teacher. They don't all want to become famous actors. There will be the handful, and the saying is, if someone wants to be an actor, there's nothing you can do to stop them. They are going to fight for that. It's everyone else. What are we doing for everyone else? So giving them the tools, not just the knowledge, but everything that drama teaches, with the teamwork and the creativity and the confidence to speak and communicate with other humans. Not everyone can do that. And some of them go into tech, and some become amazing doctors who can have conversations with their patients. That is the best part about our job, is the whole picture and what they then take to become adults and into their whatever profession they're going into. So we both have students that have done great things. They're at UCLA and Chapman and NYU and out there getting nominated for awards and doing tours. We have those students, and we are so lucky to have that. But we have so many amazing students that are good at so many things. And when you see a kid who does not seem like a kid stage managing your show, and Seth's absolutely right. I feel like once the show opens, here you go. And it's student run at that point. And I'll sit and take notes, and I'm there if they need me, but we have done our work if they are able to then take that and go. And then watching them become these leaders in the future is so fulfilling.
Yeah. And going back to my own childhood days in high school, I would have never, and I never did, apply myself to this world because I was scared to death.
Yeah.
Like even in a classroom setting, if I had to get up for a book report or whatever, I was just, blinded.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the kids that put themselves out there. And like you said, it's not all about just becoming an actor, because you can apply it to so many different things in life. I mean, in the business world and just in the social settings and all of that. Just expanding your own fear level and ability to just how you project yourself out there. As far as drama class, again, because we're speaking to people that don't really know the world too. So you have drama class, and what's interesting about it, as you kind of touched on a little bit, is not only do you have the kids that are the actors, but you have the crew, and then you also have the people that shadow you, and you almost, it's like as if, going again back to a sport, it's almost like as if you have another kid that says, hey, I want to be a coach one day, and then they actually coach the team. You don't see that, but you see it in your world. So tell people how drama class works, because it's a class, but how do you break everybody out into those different areas and skill set wise, and you have to manage all of that. Plus, how do you really, when it comes to the acting part of it, how do you hone someone's skills? Because I'm sure they're coming to you with obviously a certain ability, and maybe some of them are also taking some stuff on the side, private lessons, I'm guessing, right, or classes that are out there. But how do you particularly, and when do you work on it? Like, is it beginning of the school year, kind of like, again, going back to, say, a football, like at the beginning of this, in the summer, right, you're sitting there, you're working on some really specific techniques, and then game time comes. Do you do the same thing, and how do you do it? So if you can get into that for me, that would be great. Just drama class in general, and how you take it, skill level.
So I mean, for with the classes themselves, for our classes, I tell people it's built around scene work, and a lot of 2 and 3 person scenes or monologues as well. And I try to build one skill on top of the last one. When it comes to finding them scene partners, sometimes I'll let them pick their partners depending on the project. Sometimes I will literally draw names out of a hat, and that's how we pick our scene partners for a lot of stuff. And then with the skill building, they go through the rehearsal process, and a lot of times it'll be tied to an era of history that we just discussed. And so, okay, we just learned about Shakespeare, so let's all do Shakespeare scenes, that type of thing. When they perform, they're getting feedback, what we call roses and thorns, which is we start with finding the things that they like, and we get the feedback from their classmates first, and then we get some constructive things. And then, especially with my drama 1 and 2 classes, I will always point out at least 1 or 2 skills that I want them to be focusing on for the next thing. I'll give them like, all right, this was good, this was good, this was improved. This is something that, we didn't get this, we didn't get that. Your focus for the next thing is this. And that's something I've started doing more recently, where I've been kind of giving that sort of individual goal separately with where I can every assignment. As far as finding where they best fit, they've got to find what they want to do. Because I think they're going to be best fit wherever they're passionate. I can't force a kid onto the lighting crew if they're afraid of heights and won't climb a ladder, for example. So I try to get them to try different things, certainly. And again, it's and as far as the preparation for how, sometimes it's here's what I want to work on this year, and that's weeks over the summer. Sometimes I come across a message board or an article in October, and it's, all right, let's try to carve out time to create a new lesson or a new unit that I can do next month, and we'll stop doing this thing and we'll start doing this.
Mm-hmm. Do you work with videotape at all?
We do some video projects. I've taught video production and broadcast journalism in the past as well, and so when I was doing that, it was a little bit more. I was already in that mindset to kind of transition over. We had actually one thing that I hadn't done and had always been a live presentation in the past that we did as a self-tape earlier this year. Through COVID, I mean, it gave us the opportunity, it forced us really to do a lot more video recorded stuff. And
where you look back and say, hey, look, this is how they looked, and you use it as a teaching tool?
Oh, like going back and watching the
video?
video?
Yeah, like watching them perform and pointing out some stuff. Do you?
Not so much with that now. I mean, during COVID, they were all recording their scenes, and when we were on Zoom classes, that was the only way to watch. Right. And so we could rewind the tape and go back. We don't do much of that right now, no. But it's part of that is just the facility doesn't necessarily, make that easy.
Right. Okay.
Well, same thing. It's giving them the variety of units. It's not just about are you a good actor or not. So it could be the technical theater unit that they gravitate to. It could be the musical theater unit. It could be, and some of them just find what they're great at. Like, I'm great monologues or scenes, or like Seth said, we've added so many other elements due to COVID that pushed our creative capabilities. We're used to doing everything live. And so now I incorporate a voiceover unit. And we found some kids are incredible at voiceovers. Mm-hmm. And now they're gonna have that for their whole life as a side job or full-time job. Doing self-tapes for film. So some kids are drawn to film. We give them directing opportunities. And that's been huge. I have so many kids that just love to direct. And in musical theater, we also let the students, they can lead I have a couple that love to choreograph, so they'll choreograph numbers, and we give them those opportunities, and then they kind of find where they fall, and they all grow at different rates. So there's a lot, some people, yes, come in with talent, but some, it comes with hard work, and then all of a sudden it clicks, and you're like, wow. And there are lots of tools that we can give them. It's not just memorizing monologue and go. There are so many things that we can do and exercises we can do to get them to access a different side of them, and then they grow. And watching that growth is the best part of our job.
Right.
As they become leaders, as they become confident, as they can work with others no matter who we put them with, because we do try and keep a variety of that. Meet new people, work with them. It's not always easy. And the feedback element, I think, is huge that we do. And when people come and observe the class, they go, I don't know if I could do that. And they put themselves out there and perform, and they sit down and we go, here's what we loved, here's what you can do better. And that is life. I mean, they're going to get that in jobs, and those people who cannot take feedback. Everything is negative and they take it personally, and we can all grow and become better. And I tell them I do the same thing. When something doesn't go well, we try new stuff out as we grow as teachers as well. And if there's something I want to tweak, I write a note for next year. I'm going to change this and that, and I want them to see that I am also able to take the feedback and grow and be better. And that's what this is about.
Yeah. And the comedy sports element, so my son Julian, who actually did that with you, which is great. So again, he wasn't in drama, but that's a great way to bring other kids into the fold, into the mix. And
absolutely. Our comedy sports improv team, which Penn has as well, really draws in, everyone loves to laugh. So it really draws in the audiences. And like you said, Julian, who was in Drama 1, and then played football, and he was a joy. But there's a lot of crossover and support. I think that's a change that we have seen. When I was in high school, I don't think, we had so many football players that year in Drama 1, and that was really awesome, or ASB kids, or Red Tide kids. And so when we have a comedy sports match and we say, okay, we'll play our leadership at our school, and ASB and BTC and Red Tide play, and they beg to play again because they have so much fun doing it. Right. And I love that it's kind of cool to be in drama now, and people think, God, I couldn't do that. That's really cool that you aren't afraid to get up there and do that.
And I think that's one of the things that's maybe changed. It's broadened it out, and I think social media might have a big impact because kids are seeing themselves on the phone. They're taping their own stuff every day, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's brought that world to a lot more people, which is great.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things I saw is that you're even doing auditions at the intermediate level, right?
Yeah.
And are you finding, so when you're going to that level and kids are auditioning, are they auditioning for the drama class in general, or are they auditioning for a specific production that you're going to do?
One of the classes. So at our school, we have 2 different drama classes that 9th graders can be a part of. There's the Drama 1 regular, which any student, grades 9 through 12, can join. Then there's our Drama 1 advanced class, which is only for 9th graders. And the big difference there is that the Drama 1 advanced class, they participate in a couple of competitions during the year where they're being directed by juniors and seniors in our Drama 3-4 class. And the division that they compete at is grade regulated. You can't be above 9th grade to be in that division. So we audition kids in, and for that one, it's when the most common question I get for that is how much experience do you have to have? And I think this goes back to, like Nicole said, just the philosophy of everybody's coming from a different place, and not everybody wants to be a professional actor, but they want to be a part of something. So I even tell them now, it's not about how good you actually are, it's that you can get up and do it. Because I think she'll agree with me, it's no one's going to grow, whether it's as a performer or just the skills that we're developing, the public speaking, the teamwork and collaboration, the developing of the community, unless you're willing to get up and do it. And so for me, that is exactly what I'm looking for, and same thing with the auditions for the productions to an extent.
I'm Joe Alessi. I am a broker associate with Remax Estate Properties. So the beauty of our industry is consumers have choices all over the place. What they don't know when it comes to real estate is what to really look for. So things that they should think about is looking for someone that will do the little things. I will lose a deal before I allow someone to do something that's not going to benefit them. I tend to become friends with many of the people I work with. This is not a one and done type of business. This is a lifelong relationship once it starts. Obviously a rich tradition at both schools, a lot of awards that you've won. I saw a huge trophy case, right, at each school. And I noticed the Shakespeare Festival was one that was on most of these trophies. Between schools, obviously with sports, that's how they compete against each other. Is this how would Penn and PV be at a Shakespeare Festival competing as a school? What is the Shakespeare Festival all about? When does that typically happen? And it seems like is that the big focus?
Actually, it's very nice. We don't necessarily compete against each other, and I think that's even kind of our philosophy as well. I mean, all of my students are at his shows. All of his students are at my shows. They go out together after. So I love that about us. But we run on different tracks so that we don't compete. So my fall play is a different time than his because he'll be in D-Task, compete in D-Task. We don't because that's when our show will be. And then we do Fullerton Festival, and that's when his show is in the spring. And then our show is after. So we do a different track of competitions. So there's Shakespeare involved in our Fullerton Festival one. We do both participate in the California Educational Theater Association Festival in the winter, and that's where they adjudicate our fall shows. And then we also do John Raitt Awards for Youth, the J-Rays, and the Jerry Herman Awards, and that's with Spring Musicals, where they come out to our shows. Mm-hmm. And you perform and see what we get, and those have really taken our students far. The opportunities that they get from these festivals, it's not as much competition as opportunities. So we've had students one of my students won the J. Ray Awards and ended up doing a summer program that was a prize for it, and then got a national tour of Mamma Mia because someone saw her. And it's really great that we have those opportunities, and that's kind of how we see them more than, I'm sure some of the kids just want to win, and we love to win, don't get us wrong.
Yeah, trophies are nice.
We love all our trophies. But COVID actually made us have to rethink that, because a lot of our curriculum was starting to be like, let's prepare for this festival and this and that, and we lost that. So it made me go, what am I doing this all for? And I actually changed how I teach. And that is a perk of us working on scenes and monologues and everything. We will take all that. But it's not the end all be all. It's fun. And the best part is the bonding part of going to the festivals. That's my favorite part.
Yeah. Is it an extra credit for kids, or is it part of the drama season in general?
Is it?
Yeah.
So we participate in the Fall and Spring Drama Teacher Association of Southern California festivals, DTASC for short, and I've actually been president of DTASC for the last 3 years. So the way that those work, we do most of that work. The varsity level is my advanced drama students, and they're rehearsing primarily in class. The junior varsity is the one that I mentioned, the Drama 1 Advanced class participates in. And they do a lot of rehearsals after school because they are working with students who aren't in their class as their directors. So it is a part of the class, it is a requirement they're expected to attend. It is a long Saturday competition day. For many years, for me, it was, because when you're being judged by people, you're so much at the whim of what they like and their taste.
Subjective, right?
It's completely subjective. So no matter how good you do, that doesn't mean you're going to win. No matter how good you do, there might be somebody else who does something better. And so, whereas unlike if we are the football team, well, we scored more points, so we're going to win, and we scored more, which stopped them from scoring as many. In a performance, it's not quite that way, right? So I've pushed for a long time, when kids have gotten sort of down about not winning first place, or, well, we got a plaque, we didn't get a trophy, whatever it is, I said, okay, well, we can be like this high school that clearly puts a lot of emphasis on how they do at the festival. And there are some schools that really do. And I can say, I'm like, yeah, I know their teacher. I know that they spend 3 months working on those festival scenes. Do you want to only work on this festival scene all semester long? And the response is usually, like, no, we want to do other things too. Like, we want to do this, and this. I'm like, exactly. So it's another project. We'll spend a little more time on it than, your 2-person, Pulitzer Prize winning scene, whatever. But the emphasis more of them, and that's something where they're fully self-directed, or there might be directing classmates of theirs, and getting the chance to go to the festival and see what other schools are doing. Taking a prompt in a category, like one of the categories this year at the DTask Shakespeare Festival is Shakespeare Rocks, where they have to take the text from a Shakespeare play and rock music and turn it into an 8-minute scene, which sounds so incredibly tedious to me to build that script. But they get to take that prompt and they get to see what those other 30 schools do with that exact same prompt and how they all build. And it's hopefully learning, and just like seeing the students who go see the shows at PV High or the other nearby schools, they make friends at these festivals too. And year after year, saying these people, it's like, oh, I saw my friends from Arcadia High, or I saw my friends from, Calabasas, or whatever it is. That's the other kind of bonus is they're networking. And then when they get to college, they might already know someone from a different school.
Right. I was actually, when you and I were sitting down, when you were rehearsing for Mean Girls, we talked a little bit, and I was surprised to find out that you have to pay to be able to perform these musicals and stuff. That really caught me by surprise. So let's delve into, when you lay out the year and you're choosing which productions you're going to do, musicals, whatever we're going to call them, how are you deciding what you're going to do? What kind of budget typically do you have to work with, and how is that applied to it? And I think you also touched on, I think, maybe even Disney, because you have to pay them, maybe they're even more expensive, right? So you can't even delve into that world, right? So, what time of the year are you laying this out? And are you sitting in the office by yourself, or are you sitting there with a team of people, and you've got your how does that work? Speaking of that.
I definitely I've already announced my season for next year. And, I start with what is going to be great for the students that I have, and that changes every year. And then they surprise you. And so start with that. Can we do this? Right. Because some might be really heavy in certain areas that you just don't have that year. So start with that. And then, of course, we have to look at what's going to bring audiences in, because we have to pay for these shows. And the amount that the shows are costing now, so much more than what we used to get for our certain budgets. So thank God for booster clubs and PTSA and lots of generous donors, but the parents help as well. And it's never, I wouldn't say you have to, because we are a public school, so we definitely, there's financial aid, things that we work out, but we couldn't do what we do. The production quality that we put on is beyond your average high school. And we talk with our students and our parents. Do we want to maintain this? Because it's getting pretty pricey, and we've had to raise ticket prices and everything and we have a huge fundraiser coming up this weekend just for the production to try and make ends meet. But ultimately, we got to bring the audience in. And if we can fill that house, and we know we're pretty good. I break even every year. The theater's not a money-making venture, but it is absolutely a business, and we have to think of that. And I think we make decisions almost daily of like, I got to cut that. I'm not going to have that piece of furniture because I'm going to put the money here or here. And things don't work, and this costs, and you go, all right, let's rethink this. It's going to be a little bit more minimalistic in this way and that way. And then sometimes it ends up better. So it's almost like if I had the money to do everything, maybe I wouldn't be as creative and it wouldn't be as great a show because we have to problem solve and make things work with a specific budget. And people are very surprised how much some of these musicals cost. But I mean, even something like Grease is like 17, 18,000 in just the rights alone to do it. That's only the
crazy.
rights. So you haven't done anything yet. So your average musical does not cost that. But everyone says, why don't you do Grease? It's like, there's no way that we can do that if you would like to pay for that. But that, we have to make those decisions. And
when you're making those, is this you sitting by yourself, or again, are you sitting there with a bunch of other people, and who's involved if there are others?
I do involve my choreographer and my music director, my vocal director, and my production manager, and we do discuss the shows, because that's going to involve all of them, and I want their opinions too of do you think we have the kids? Do you have ideas of how we're going to do this in our space? And so we do decide that before I announce it. In terms of what money goes where, that's me.
And does the bulk of it go just to pay for the actual rights?
No, I would say for what you see on stage, for sure. The set, the lights, the sound, it's a lot.
Because you're also, coming over here to Seth, I learned that you had to pay for the choreographer, right? They're coming from outside. It's not like you're doing the choreography.
We gotta pay our people.
Right? You have to pay for other help. It's not just all yourselves, right?
Yeah, so my salary is paid by my school district. It's I'm contracted. Our vocal director is our choir teacher, Mr. Dan Doctor at our school. So he does the vocal direction for our musicals. So he's paid by the district. But anyone else that we bring in is part of that budget and part of that number. Yeah.
So again, same process for you. Are you involving a lot of other people in this decision process when you're choosing
so every year we do 1 or 2 plays in the fall, and those ones I decide on my own pretty much. And then with our musicals, I'll usually send a few scores over to the vocal director, to the choreographer, and I'll remind them, all right, these are the ones who are graduating. Here's the ones who are going to be juniors and seniors next year that we've worked with in the past. And so they definitely have input there. And also every year, in the springtime, I'll send a couple of surveys to my students. And the surveys will usually have 10 play titles and 10 musical titles. And it's not necessarily shows that I'm thinking of, but it's, some of them might be my top 2 or 3 choices. I won't tell them what they are. I'll just say, here's a bunch of shows. Some are shows that are stylistically representative of a few things. Some of them are just things I'll just toss in there just to kind of gauge the temperature. And there's been times, honestly, where my top choice or one of my top 3 choices is, their bottom choice. No, we don't want to do that. And if I see my rising juniors and seniors don't want to do Grease, I'm not going to do Grease, for example. And I'll do the same thing with the plays, and I'll leave a little synopsis. I'll leave a link so they can look it up if they want to look up more. But we can't do the shows if the kids don't audition for them.
Right.
And I'm sure Nicole feels the same way. When I was in drama in high school, we just wanted to do the shows. We didn't care what it was. We wanted to be there. We wanted to be with our friends. And there were a few years for me where that was like the lowest priority amongst my students. They really cared a lot about what the show was. And when I discovered that's when I sort of really put a little bit more emphasis into those surveys. And they can make suggestions also, but they're not looking at all the things that I have to look at, obviously. I have seen in the last 2 years a return to, we just want to be on stage. We don't care what the show is, but we'd rather not do X. So, and that even drove, some of my decision making even this year.
Right. Well, and let's get into that. So Mean Girls, I just saw the play. It was great. I loved it.
Appreciate it.
First play I've ever been to at a high school level. And I was really impressed, as you had said. I mean, the sets, everything it's just top notch for this level. You don't expect that. You have the playbill. It looks just like the same thing. You go out to a theater to see a massive play. It's all the same. Now that it's over, just Tell us about how that whole thing went for you. How do you gauge success on it, and do you? And how do you look back on it now that it's all finished? What did you take away from it?
I mean, for me, there's always the three separate gauges for success. Is one, I mean, we do have to look at the budget, and we did turn a modest profit on the show, which is definitely a goal, because again, I don't get money from my school to do a show. I've got to have the money, or it's through the fundraising. Is the show any good? Like, what was the audience reaction? And then, of course, the most important one is, did the students seem to enjoy it?
Right.
And we sold very well, so yeah, we made money. We sold well, which means there was good word of mouth. So it must have been, some people must have thought it was good. I thought it was good. The people who spoke to me, and I'd like to think not everyone was lying to my face when they said they enjoyed it, but wouldn't be the first time. And the kids seemed happy. The kids seemed like they wanted to be there every day. They seemed like they were having fun. There's always some backstage drama. There's teenagers in close quarters working long hours.
Right.
There was not very much of that. And I didn't see, people separating. I didn't see cliques forming. It was... And so I think the number one most important, and I don't know how Nicole agrees, I'm sure she does, if they're enjoying themselves, the show's going to be better anyway.
Right.
And so, in that number one, everybody seemed like they had a really good time. If they're crying on closing, if they're sad to see it end, then that means we did something right.
Right. Yeah. When it's all said and done, how many times do you actually perform the whole thing?
The last few years, our musical, 7 performances for the audience, plus a handful of tech rehearsals and run-throughs. So,
Okay.
The actual performance with an audience, those 7.
Over the course of those 7 times that you do it, I would assume you're going to have maybe nights where someone might not be on for whatever reason, right? Personal things come into the whole outcome. What do you find happens? Do you find like at the end, are they really polished? Has it changed from day 1 to 7?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And how does it typically?
Well, I remind them the perfect performance doesn't exist. I've in 30 plus years of doing theater, I'm not saying I've never had a perfect performance. Maybe I haven't, but I've never been a part of a performance where every single thing went perfectly. And so the goal is always, at the end of the day, if they can identify, okay, they were a beat late or 30 seconds late for an entrance, if they dropped a line, if they didn't hit the light cue at the exact right moment, if they got feedback while they're mixing sound, whatever it is, it's, okay, the next day, did it happen again? Or did you, rectify that? And did you grow from that? Did you figure out what went wrong? Or, did you drop focus? Okay, well, how am I going to maintain my focus today? Did I let myself get distracted? Okay, well, what am I going to do? And so there's definite growth. There's, I don't like seeing shows on opening night. I like going like night 3 or 4 because, opening night, they're tired from a long tech week.
Do you tend to sit in the audience when you watch, or are you up top? Where are you typically?
I'm all over the place, honestly. Sometimes I'm standing by the sound booth. Sometimes I'm sitting in the back corner, kind of behind the audience. Sometimes even like reading scripts for next year while watching. Sometimes I'm sitting outside, just because I've seen it a lot. And again, since there's nothing I can do about it, and I'll pop outside for a few minutes at a time and get some fresh air, and
Okay.
listen to the audience's responses as opposed to watching what the kids are doing.
Okay. And you're 2 weeks away from something
Yeah.
rotten coming, hitting the stage. So
We're gearing up.
Yeah, you're at a different point.
Yeah.
But how are things going?
There.
What's your expectations for this?
Well, they're going great. For the first time this year, everyone wants us to perform somewhere, so we had to get things ready a little bit earlier. Some of our biggest numbers, which the students were like, "What are we doing?" I said, "This is going to get us in gear." So we performed at the 8th grade, incoming 9th grade open house. So 8th grade open house. And then the Booster Club had their big Catch the Wave event and wanted us to perform there. And that was great. And then we performed for the incoming 9th grade parents. So we were doing different numbers there. So that got everyone excited and together quickly. Then we performed at Fullerton Festival, and they placed 3rd with their musical theater number. They were very excited. So I'm very grateful that those opportunities happened early on. And so now we have the momentum going. And everyone said, are you rehearsing all spring break? I said, no, we all need this break. This is really important that everyone take a moment, sleep, rest up, because we're about to go in pretty intensely into those dress rehearsal week and then tech week and get going. We can't wait to share it with an audience. Something Rotten's a huge show. It's huge. The amount of group numbers is quite a bit, but the cast is fantastic. And people learn to tap for this show as well. So, and it's just a lot of fun. So we can't wait for audiences, because that is going to change everything. And like Seth said, it grows from there. So opening night, there's nothing like the energy of an audience on opening night and the cast. But I do take notes every show until closing. And we work on it, and we'll come early and tighten things, and the audience changes everything. The timing of everything now is like, oh wait, we got to hold for that laugh, or that didn't quite work now that we have this going, or that door's closed because the audience is there. So, you work through that. And then I have parents come up on the closing weekend, they're going, it's like a different show. Like, it is so much tighter, and these kids they're locking it in, and that prop that was missing opening night somehow is like there, and you're going, yes, it's actually better with everything there. But like Seth said, there's never a perfect performance. I mean, you're just watching, you're like, okay, all the props were there, everything's there, and then something happens. But the outtakes are really fun. We tend to videotape. We made some very fun blooper reels, and they get a kick out of it. And it's just like, that's part of it. And how did you deal with it? Right. Did you keep going? So I gotta
tell you, I was really impressed. So when I was there watching you work with the kids, and you're literally on stage and you're having people, you need to move over 1 foot here, and you're really getting very technical, because you're working with the size of the stage for one thing, right? You have a lot of people up there. But I found it amazing that with all the little different things that were going on and what you were directing, as well as the kids themselves talking to each other on what they're seeing amongst themselves. And then just that same night, when it looked like it was so chaotic, and yet they come back and they perform it later that day. And from my vantage point, I'm sure you're seeing different things, but from my unskilled, trained eye, it looked great. I'm thinking, I was seeing this earlier, and now I'm seeing this really polished thing. So it's pretty impressive how it evolves so quickly.
Yeah, it is organized chaos. There is a lot going on, but we see things from the outside, and like you said, a different perspective. So the kids are thinking, I'm standing in my window, and you're going, no, you're not. And we're moving here, and no, you aren't all in line. And those little details, I obsess a little bit. That's kind of what makes us directors. We see things that most people don't, and then you're like, that was better, but I'm not sure why that was better. But they'll bring it. They want it as much as we do, and that makes all the difference. We're not just saying, can you go here? And they know my crazy. They know, like, 2 inches that way, get that way. And where's your focus? Like, one kid not focused in the right place, like that, when I see a show, that pulls me out. Like, wait, everyone has to be invested in this, and what part do you play in this number? Where's the focus supposed to be, and how are you invested in it? Because that makes a huge difference as a group. And I say, I don't do this, I'm a lead, I'm an ensemble person. I have a lead right now that's begging to be in ensemble numbers, because they don't get to do all the big dance numbers, and we're trying to fit her in. I'm like, this is weird. This is a different thing than I'm used to hearing, but the ensemble gets to do all the fun stuff. And they sometimes have more stage time than the leads. So it's just fun. And when you saw, the audience was there, and then it's like, click, they bring it.
Yeah, you do have your lead roles, which are obviously great, but like you said, there's so many opportunities for all the other parts of the musical or the play. Like, I even recall, and I know he's a surfer as well, he's on the surf team, and he played Kevin in Mean Girls. And he had his role, but when he came on, I mean, he stole the show. I mean, it was it was a great part, very memorable, and so there's a lot of opportunities, like you said, not just for the lead in these things, which is great. Yeah. So one thing you touched on was you have your seniors, and you're thinking about them and how they may fit into the play. So now that it's over, with Mean Girls being done, you have kids that are going on to college and other things, and what are the opportunities for them, and how do you fit into that role in helping them at all get us, if there's a scholarship available, or what? How does that work for you?
So I mean, there's different types of scholarships that are available. Like our Booster Club has one. CETA offers scholarships. DTAS, Musical Theater West, is a nonprofit theater company in Long Beach. My job at that point is I give them the information, and I hope that they ask me for help. I can't force them to.
And that helps probably coming early on. Probably coming at what grade level? I mean, if they
like to get ready for those types of things. I mean, that we talk about it from 9th grade on.
Yeah, right.
But as soon as I get the information, I post it and I remind them it's posted, and I do my best to remind them of the due dates. And then whether it's they're prepping for college auditions, or whether it's prepping for whatever might be needed for scholarship stuff, it's a few years ago I started doing, at least with my juniors and seniors, instead of having, all right, this month everybody's doing a monologue, it's at some point, like, you have, each quarter you have to perform a monologue. These are the dates you can choose to perform, but they have to be proactive in making it. And then the goal is by the time they finish Drama 3-4, they've at least got that portfolio of 8 monologues that they've got ready, and that is their audition book. And you can't do all the same type. You have to do classic, contemporary, and modern. You have to do comedic. You have to do dramatic. And so that's hopefully going to get them the material that they need for the acting auditions. The students who are going for tech scholarships, it's, they come to me, they whether they need a portfolio, it's okay, well then if we don't have what you need for that portfolio now, what can we do to get you that? We've got this event coming up, do you want to light design that? Do you want to do set design for the fall play? We work with outside designers for the musical, but we do all the design in-house for our plays. And whenever I can give those students those opportunities, and then that gives them that experience for the interview, for the portfolio, for whatever they need for both scholarships, and if they are looking into a design program for college as well.
Right. And you both went to universities locally, so UCLA, Chapman, does that give you a leg up with maybe if someone wants to go to UCLA, and if they don't, I mean, how?
Wish we still had those connections. This was a little while ago, though. I think because we've been through the process, so I mean, that's changed too, but I'm able to say, hey, when I auditioned for UCLA, we did this exercise. I know this seems very strange right now, but this is not made up, and they're doing this in the colleges. And we also, I have all my students that go out and audition, or just college interviews, whatever they're into, they come back and we talk about it as a class. So the juniors, especially in our Drama 3-4 class, so it's juniors, seniors, we can prep them pretty early. So I start the year off with college audition materials, and we get everyone ready for a college audition, whether they're doing it or not, because they're gonna grow anyways. We learn how to do the self-tape so that that stress is off. We know how to do it. And I do mock interviews with them. So I take all the questions, the college questions that I've gotten over the years back from students, and we put them in the hot seat, and I interview them like I'm the college, and everyone watches and takes notes. And we just talk about how you present yourself, and and that would be for any job interview. How are you coming across? Are you flopping your foot around? Are you not dressed appropriately for an interview? And we get them ready. And then there's a lot of time spent working on essays together. So it's very, my own kids are just like, I don't understand. What are you, I'm working on this essay. We're on the same Google form, doc now that we can do that. So if it's not at school, I'm at home. It's like my family's very large with all of these seniors. And we're working on the tech portfolio, and things are going back and forth, and sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night and we're still tweaking an application. So I can help them from my perspective as well, just as an adult, and I was an English teacher as well. So that helps. It's like, let's organize that thought a little bit differently, but it's cool to be a part of that process. And when they get in college, there's a real sense of pride in getting them there and just watching them decide where they want to go. And I really emphasize, it's so great to have a dream school, but let's explore everything and then go visit and the pros and cons and go in with your gut, not worrying about where everyone else got in, and finding the right fit for you and where you're going to flourish. And for some, it's a big school, and for some, it's not. So where I started at UCLA, and that is a very large school, my dream school had always been UC Santa Barbara. It's where I'd always wanted to go, and I got into UCLA and thought, well, I got into UCLA's theater program, I should go there. Like, what an honor. But it was not, at the time, what was right for me. And so I ended up transferring back to where my heart was. And that's where I grew the most. And it was just a smaller campus, smaller class sizes, more individualized attention. I could take everything I wanted to become a teacher. And it was a beautiful place to be. UCLA was a little close to home, and I wanted to get that experience. The program's completely changed from when I was there. Now they have a musical theater program as well at UCLA, and I have a few students going there. Just so excited. I mean, the program is killer. But I still say, don't just go because it's UCLA. Like, is that where your heart is?
Right.
And if it's not, you're not going to be happy, and you're not going to grow.
Right, as with anything.
Anything.
Well, that was very educational. Thank you both for being here.
Absolutely.
Congrats on a successful season.
Thank you.
Best of luck with Something Rotten coming up.
Thank
It was
you.
nice to get to know you guys a lot better. Thank you for tuning in today, and if you enjoyed what you watched, please subscribe to the channel.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.